everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Grain Gauntlet. We decided to change things up a little bit. Usually we do this before a big report, but this one's real big, so we decided to do it right after. So when you'll see this is in the immediate aftermath of today's report release. It looks like the USDA did go ahead and acknowledge some yield loss for corn, but they kind of tried to offset that by adding some harvested acres and planted acres that I'm sure Patrick's going to be talking about. So if you are ready, we'll get to the 5 questions this week.
I'm ready.
All right. Question number
Put
1.
on my goggles.
These questions are kind of like a combination of what we've been getting in the half hour right after report release. So this one says, what's your outlook on corn prices after this report?
Higher. They lowered yield. They haven't lowered yield quite enough yet. They usually do it in steps. So the move down, this was nice to see corn drop to a much more reasonable level after we got the July weather that we got over pollination. 180.7 is a reasonable yield, but I expect to come down a little bit further. We're looking at similar to the record yield in 24, 179.3. But it was nice to see that they made a step towards that. So I do expect prices to move higher.
Are you buying the acreage totals they gave us today?
No. Yes and no. Yes, because we have to, because they ain't going to change now. They're not going to add more acres or take away acres a month from now because the crop's been planted. There's no logical reason. They can always say, well, there was some planted in July, and that's, have to change it. They can't do that again until January with the final number. So we're stuck with the acres we got right now. So do I believe it? No. How do you come up with 2.6 million more acres? But yes, I believe it because that's what we have to work with.
Okay. Same question essentially for soybeans. What's your outlook on soybean prices after this report?
More neutral. I think, with corn and wheat going higher, it's going to be hard to keep soybeans lower. I do think both corn and soybeans are going to be significantly higher by spring. It has nothing to do with this WASDE report.
Okay. All right. This quick question, diverting over to wheat. Should I sell or store wheat?
That's a great question. If you have to pay commercial storage, you sell and buy back aggressively. If you do not have to pay for commercial storage, you store it on farm, you hold it for now.
Okay. All right. Getting back to corn and beans for these last 2 questions. This one says, with this spike following today's report, should I sell what's left of my old crop corn?
Wow. Old crop corn?
Yeah. That's basically 440 September.
To be honest with you, if I had new crop sold where we have it sold at 493, I would sell that old crop off my new crop contracts and have less new crop price because I think there's a very high potential to see $5 plus cash on new crops. So we're going to probably do buybacks on, and we have been doing some buybacks on the new crop sales that we made, even though we're still way below 20 cents below where we sold it, because I do expect a better price in the spring. So take the old crop that you got, deliver it for the new crop contracts if your elevator lets you do that, and then just have less of a percentage sold for new crop.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this one's from a prospect. Says, I don't think I sold enough soybeans on the last rally. Will I get another chance to sell above $12 before harvest?
Before harvest is a key question. If I have to sell between now and harvest, I'm doing a buyback. If you don't have to sell, if you have on-farm storage, don't sell. I expect soybeans to be above $13 by spring, and I expect above $5 cash price for corn by spring.
Yeah, it doesn't look like this support's going to deliver enough of a rally being back over $12. But
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just harvest season, and it's hard to get a really good price. Worse yet, base is going to stink, at harvest time. So If we can wait for a sale, you want to wait for a sale. If you can store it, store it. If you can't, at least buy it back on the board and be aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of wanted to get through these questions quick just to get more of a general reaction from you from today's report. What do you think?
Okay, great. I appreciate that. The WASI report was supported. That's great. Okay. They made more acres, which is a miracle, but that's what we have to deal with. Here's the bottom line. The next 9 months forecasted by RCPC for Brazil shows top 2/3 of that country having a high probability of below normal precipitation for September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. If that happens, we're going to explode higher, okay? We're going to absolutely explode higher. So the real issue is, will that weather pattern play out? I believe it will. And here's why. Monsoonal rains are rains that come from a environmental condition. So in South America, we get moisture coming off the Atlantic and it gets stuck and it just sits there for a 6-month period, just like India's monsoon comes off the ocean and gets stuck. And that is during easterlies, when we have easterly winds, when we have the hurricanes coming off the African coast. Well, that easterly path goes all the way to China, right? And that pushes moisture, the monsoon, into Brazil. That's why they get 12, 14, 16 inches of rain almost every month during September through the end of April. When you have an El Nino, that easterly wind pattern, the easterlies flip, they become westerlies. They come out of Indonesia towards South America. When that happens, and if it's strong enough, it can actually push where the rains fall, east and south. And so what they're projecting for those months is heavy rain down south in southern Argentina, Brazil and Argentina, and off the coast of into the Atlantic, but not situated where the monsoon usually hits. If that happens, we're going to have a bad crop South America. World ending stocks are extremely tight for wheat, corn, pretty doggone tight for soybeans. We're going to have an explosion potentially if that weather pattern is realized. And I think there's a really good probability of that happening. So I'm playing alongside right now. We've been talking for 2 months, 3 months about being safe to the downside, having a hedge on, making some cash sales when we had the rally, but being covered to the downside. And we also said we'll look at getting long when the normal low for the year's put in, which is in August. Guess what, gang? We're in August. We're August 12th. Last year, the low for the whole year for the summer corn contract was August 11th. So to start buying here at the seasonal low gives you a good probability of success to add to your sales.
Good. Yeah. We know there's a lot of extremes with the weather already in certain places, Europe, East Asia. And then, if we get what you're talking about, if that does come to fruition in South America, that's going to set up for quite a year next year. And, the USDA might be kind of anticipating the same thing. They like to have price shock come a little more gradually. And my guess, and I think you and I talked about this, we figured there might be some kind of offset if they lower yield today. And it looks like they did that with harvested acres. But it's that for quite a while, the next 12 months.
Yep. And they succeed with their goal of walking into this. But the bottom line is we have lots of issues. Do you remember 2020-21 when the Russian-Ukrainian situation started? We rallied $3, okay, in corn. Well, the situation, in my opinion, is worse. They're bombing Odessa. They're bombing ships in south of Odessa. They bombed a grain train this weekend heading west out of Odessa, and the Ukrainians responded by bombing a bunch of grain in Russia. This is way worse than it was back in 2020-21. The war has gotten bigger and more violent, and I expect that we could explode just because of that war. I don't want to add more premium. I don't think we even need to. The upside has a lot of probability right now, and that's what I'm going to play.
All right. Well, the August commodity is behind us, and it wasn't a painful one this time. At least,
Right.
so that's always good.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's awesome. I think we got an opportunity for the American farmer to get a profitable price this year for his 26, 27 crop. And we're going to do everything we can to add to that through the hedge count, but I think we're going to get really good sales too. And we need them because your expenses are through the roof, people. I don't know how you grow a crop. I don't know how a farmer right now takes the risk of putting fertilizer down in the fall with the way prices are. It's almost like you got to have a higher price just to, be able to survive. So I hope the rally happens soon so you guys, that decision becomes easier for you. And I think the market wants that too.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for those answers this week, Patrick. That's all for this week's Q&A, and we'll take it from here.
Hey, have a great week, guys. Take care.